What's going on, YouTube? My name's Austin. You're watching the Obscure Reference YouTube channel, and I'm here solo reviewing The Iron Claw, which I think is going to be my favorite movie that we've reviewed this year. Before we get started, I don't know a ton about the history of professional wrestling, so I'm not going to get into any of that, how it compares to the real life and the Von Erichs and all of that kind of stuff. But I really like this movie, and so I wanted to talk about it nonetheless. And I kind of described it on Twitter, this movie, as a beautiful tragedy that everyone should experience, much like, the lives that we all live, is because that's really what this is. I mean, it's a life story, right? Talking about, it's about the Von Erichs, but it's really about Zac Efron as Kevin Von Erich going through his life. Um, and so you get to see the good, the bad, and this is a particularly tragic family. They have the so-called Von Erich curse that they talk about in the movie. But if you are, in for an emotional kind of heart-wrenching movie, this is a really good one. I want to start with the actors because I think this is a really well cast film. Usually you can hit on some of them, but not all of them. And I think that overall, this is like was a really, really well cast film. Starting with the father, Fritz von Erich, the guy they cast, Holt. I'm not gonna try and name everyone's whatever, but Holt is like the perfect version of the overly hard dad. Lived a hard life, brought that down to his kids, and he plays it so well. He's perfectly well cast for that. He's got this kind of really big Texas personality. And then you've got David Von Erich, one of his kids, played by Harris Dickinson. And he plays the kind of outgoing Von Erich brother. Um, he gets to do the Iron Claw after his father, and he does a lot of the talking. And I think he, portrays that character very well. He's got the look. You can really feel like he could definitely be that person in real life. Then we've got Jeremy Allen White playing Carrie Von Erich, and I think he has a lot of fun with this role. I mean, he plays it so well, back to back off of his time on The Bear. I mean, this guy's on an upward trajectory. I'm really looking forward to seeing where he goes, and I think he, does a lot with that character who is kind of like the crazy shoulder brother. Not that none of all of them aren't that crazy, or all of them aren't crazy, but he plays that one well. We got Stanley Simons playing Mike Von Erich, the kind of like musical stepson, even though he's their actual brother to the wrestling family. And I think it creates a really fun dichotomy in this movie, kind of going back and forth between the two of them. It was unfortunate when later in the movie he, went to the ring. You know, I don't know that he was a great singer, but I loved to see that kind of dichotomy there and the brotherly love of like taking him to his first concert and always trying to support him. I really really liked that. Lily James as Pam, Kevin Von Erich's wife. She when she first came, she really ate up the screen as soon as she came on. The whole scene where they meet outside of the ring, and their first date, she just absolutely kills it. And I was in from the very beginning, because of it. And then finally, last one I want to talk about is Zac Efron as Kevin Von Erich. He has a subtle performance. Early on, he doesn't have a ton of emotion that he portrays, and you could see that the blow up was going to come at some point because he was holding it all in and everything kept going against him. And I think he played that so well. He really, although like early on, he doesn't, isn't the emotional center of this movie. As it goes on, he's the one that brings everything together at the end and really hits home all of the points, all of the emotional beats. And that really matters in this movie because, there's really a culmination at the end of this movie that, um, as much fun as watching the movie was, or I shouldn't say fun because there's a lot of tragedy in it, but as enjoyable watching the movie was, it's how it all comes together in the end that, really puts it over the top. And I think that Zach, his performance really sells that, and is part of the reason why it's so good. Next, I want to talk about the way they shot this movie. This movie was written and directed by Sean Durkin, which I'm going to look here real quick. I don't think I've ever seen any of his other movies. That doesn't nothing that I think I've seen before. So this is my first time seeing him. I think he was kind of hit or miss with his shots. When they were in the ring, it was really good. Super visceral. You know, they're throwing each other around, kicking, and I'm like bobbing and weaving in the theater because it felt like you were really, in the ring with them. Some of the other shots, like I said, kind of hit or miss. There's some stuff that was just felt, I don't know, just kind of standard shot. Didn't like really get me in the same way that the ring did. But I think that this is a really strong performance by him, especially given that I haven't, seen anything else that he has really done. I'm not sure. It doesn't really tell me if he's got anything coming up here in the near future that I should be on the lookout for. This is kind of like his big thing. Which, side note, if I'm hoping that my presentation of this, when I went and saw it, I was the only one in my theater, which I really hope isn't indicative of the feeling around this movie because it had a lot of buzz when it opened up, and it's a really good movie that this is that mid-budget movie that I want to. Well, I mean it's A24, so I guess it's not anymore. I mean $50 million movies don't get made. This is like 25-ish. This is the kind of movie that I want to keep getting made. So, I'm out here banging the drum, trying to let everyone know that this is a movie you want to see, whether you're in it for, you know, some action, some wrestling, you on that side of it. Like I said, great shots on that side of it, or the emotional piece of it, which uh, I'll let you guys in on. I guess not really a secret, but this movie was the culmination was so emotional, and I felt so much that I literally left the theater and started like texting all of my family and loved ones like I love you, because man is it brutal. As this movie gets later in, and obviously um I think this has come up before on the channel, but I have a particular soft spot, I should say, for dads who are trying their best to be a good father. And the later scenes with Kevin Von Erich, where he's crying on the grass with his kids, man, that one really hit me in the feels. And I think that's what got me there in the end. I didn't The scene with all the brothers, getting back together at the pond. I don't know. That was a good scene. It didn't hit me in the same way as the kids one did, which I think is just kind of like what experiences you've had in life. I'm an only child, so not a lot of brotherly love in my life. Obviously with friends and stuff, and you can kind of feel that in this movie. Which, going back slightly, I guess, to the acting, um, it really felt like they're brothers. That party scene when they go to Mike's first concert is so good. I mean, there's so many scenes in this where it's like you can just clearly like these guys obviously liked each other. They portrayed being brothers so well, that really early on is kind of like the thing that gets you into it before you start to get into the relationship with Pam. That's kind of like the first relationship you get in this movie. Obviously, got the kind of, I don't know if happy ending you can really put at the end of this movie, but you get the whole Von Erich family coming together under Kevin, and they all fulfill his dream of the ranch and all of that. And so you get a bit of lightheartedness at the end. I think this, for how tragic of a story this is, and apparently it's even more tragic in real life. There's even more to it than they really were able to put into this movie. But I think that it balances the emotion really well for, everything that it's kind of tackling. I mean, we've got so much heartbreak in this movie, and like I said, I really felt it. But there was a lot of great moments too to kind of balance it out as best you can with the material that you're talking about, and I think they nailed it pretty well. Uh, Pretty well. I think they really nailed it. Um, it's a great movie. What else to really say other than please go see this movie? I think I'm gonna do a probably on TikTok. I don't know if I'm gonna do a whole video about it, but like I'm gonna rank all of the movies that we've reviewed on the channel that I was a part of anyway, um, in order. So I guess spoiler that this I think is going to be my number one. I still have Godzilla minus one and Aquaman 2 to see this year. Patrick tells me Godzilla minus one is really good, so maybe I'm not. We're not going to probably review it, but I may put it on my list, and that may beat this one. I don't know, but I think that'll do it for my review. If you like what we do here, it's just me this time, but I have two guys that I stream with. We do reviews, we do all sorts of stuff on the channel. Check us out. If you like what we're doing, hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment down below. If you saw the movie, what did you think of it? Obviously, love talking about movies. We're reviewing them on the internet, so if you have something to say in the comments, go ahead and put it down there. Other than that, hope you guys have a happy holidays.